Ever get that feeling like the world is run by like a bunch of smug pricks in a smoky back room?
Yeah.
Well, today,
Ah.
we're diving into a theory that says, yeah, it basically is.
All right.
Buckle up, because things are about to get weird.
Yeah, this is a good one.
So we're going deep on Skull and Bones,
Mm-hmm.
that super secret society at Yale
Right.
that's produced more than its fair share of presidents,
Oh, yeah.
CEOs, and all-around power players.
Power players.
Our source for this deep dive
Okay.
is a YouTube video by a researcher named Anthony Sutton.
Okay.
This
That's
guy
interesting.
is known for making some seriously controversial claims,
Okay.
and this one's no exception.
Lay on me.
So he's basically saying Skull and Bones isn't just a bunch of rich kids playing dress-up.
Right.
He thinks they're actively shaping world events,
Okay.
pulling strings to keep the rest of us in the dark.
All right.
Pretty wild stuff.
Yeah. And what kind of evidence does he have for that?
He lays out a pretty disturbing picture. It suggests they're using everything from wars
Oh, wow.
to financial crises to manipulate global power dynamics. And he's got receipts.
Interesting. Okay, so where do we even begin with this?
Let's start with the basics.
Right.
Skull and Bones was founded way back in 1833 at Yale,
Mm-hmm.
and they only pick 15 new members each year.
Oh, wow. So it's very exclusive.
Yeah, super exclusive.
Okay.
They call themselves Knights while they're at Yale,
Mm.
and Patriarchs after
Yeah,
they graduate.
sure.
They've got this creepy building on campus called the Temple.
Mm-hmm.
No windows,
Okay.
steel doors,
That's creepy.
and rumors of some seriously freaky rituals.
Oh, yeah. I've heard about that.
Oh, yeah. It's
Yeah.
pretty out there.
Pretty standard secret society stuff so far.
Yeah, it's all pretty standard secret society stuff.
Yeah.
But then there's the number 322.
Right.
It's like their calling card.
3, 2, 2.
What's the deal with that?
Yeah, what does it do with that?
So there are a few theories floating around out there. Some say it's connected to the Greek orator Demosthenes,
Mm-hmm.
who died in 322 BC.
Okay.
Others think it refers to the order's founding date,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe a chapter number.
Okay, so like a symbolic number?
Yeah. Sutton seems to think it's a combination of their founding year, 1832,
Okay.
and the fact that they were the second chapter established.
Interesting.
And let's not forget the whole skull and crossbones thing.
Oh, yeah. Can't forget about that.
I mean, they're not exactly trying to blend in, are they?
Not subtle at all.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
The symbolism is pretty in your face.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear what they're going for with that.
So there was even a break-in at the temple back
Uh-huh.
in the 1870s
Uh-huh.
called the Yale Gate Incident.
Okay.
And the students who got in supposedly found all sorts of bizarre stuff
Like what?
that reinforced the whole death and secrecy vibe.
Oh, wow. Okay, so they're really playing it up.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But how does Sutton even prove any of this?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Like, how do you even get information about a group that's so secretive?
We're talking about a group that's practically defined by secrecy.
Yeah.
So Sutton's method is to track the careers of prominent Skull and Bones members
Okay.
and look for patterns.
Right.
He's looking for evidence that they're working together,
Mm-hmm.
helping each other climb the ladder of power,
Okay.
and pushing a shared agenda.
Interesting approach.
He found this memo from a disgruntled member.
Oh, really? What did it say?
Yeah, back in 1932, one member wrote this 6-page memo describing the order as the most sordid thing he'd ever seen.
Wow.
It's like a peek behind the curtain,
Uh,
suggesting that even some of the members get creeped out by what's really going on.
okay, so even from the inside, there's like some pushback.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so Sutton's saying it's not just a bunch of old boys networking.
Right.
There's something more sinister at play.
Okay.
He calls these connections chains of influence.
Chains of influence.
Like how Henry Stimson, a big shot Skull and Bones member,
Right.
brought the Bundy family into the War Department.
Oh, wow. Okay, and how did the Bundys play into this?
So then you have George Bundy,
Mm-hmm.
who became National Security Advisor,
Right.
and his brother William, who held high-level positions in the State Department.
So they're all connected.
Yeah, it's all connected.
Okay.
So Sutton argues that this kind of strategic placement
Yeah.
is how the order maintains its grip on power.
Okay, so it's all about placement and influence.
It's all about who you know
Gotcha.
and where you can put them.
Okay.
So what is it they're actually trying to achieve?
Yeah, what's the end game here?
What's the end game here?
Yeah.
According to Sutton, it's all about power.
Okay.
Raw, unadulterated power.
Mm.
He claims they operate using this thing called the Hegelian dialectic.
Hegelian dialectic. Hold on, explain that like I'm 5.
Okay.
but, 5 and really into conspiracy theories.
All right, so 5 and down the rabbit hole.
It-
So it's basically a philosophy where you create conflict on purpose
Okay.
to drive society towards a specific outcome.
So they're like manufacturing problems.
Think of it like this.
Okay.
You create a problem,
Okay.
people freak out and demand a solution,
Yeah.
and you swoop in with the solution you wanted all along,
Oh, so they're creating the problem and the solution.
giving you even more power.
Wow. Okay, so they're like puppet master.
Their puppet masters pulling the string
Pulling the strings to make us dance.
to make us dance to their tune.
Yeah, that's pretty scary if true.
That's what Sutton's saying.
Okay.
And the goal of all this manipulation.
Yeah. What is it?
A new world order.
A new world order.
A single global government controlled by, well, guess who?
Oh boy. Okay, and do they give any specific examples of how this is happening?
So he uses examples like Howard Taft,
Okay.
a Skull and Bones member, who became both president and Chief Justice of the United States.
She was really high up there.
Yeah, this guy was a mover and a shaker.
Right.
Taft was all about the World Court,
Okay.
which Sutton sees as a stepping stone to a world where international law trumps national sovereignty.
So a global government, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And then there's George H.W. Bush, another bonesman.
Right. Another big name.
His involvement with mundialization at the UN is another red flag for Sutton.
Mundialization.
So mundialization was this weird thing
Okay.
where American cities were encouraged to adopt UN statutes.
Really?
It's like they were trying to slowly erode U.S. sovereignty
Oh, wow.
and hand over power to international organizations.
Okay, it's a little creepy.
And of course, we can't talk about Skull and Bones without mentioning the Bush dynasty.
Of course, yeah, the Bushes are like the poster children for Skull and Bones.
George H.W. Bush and his father Prescott were both members.
Mm-hmm.
But here's where it gets really strange.
Okay.
Prescott was a partner of Brown Brothers Harriman,
Okay.
the same firm that Averell Harriman, a big-time Democrat, was involved with.
Wait, Averell Harriman was also a Skull and Bones member?
And wouldn't you know, Harriman was also a Skull and Bones member.
Wow. So you have a Republican and a Democrat, both part of this secret society.
It's almost like they're playing both sides of the political spectrum,
Yeah.
making sure they have their fingers in every pie.
That's,
So a Republican and a Democrat, both part of this secret society,
yeah.
working together behind the scenes.
That's some next level shady shit.
That's some next level shady shit.
Yeah.
Sutton argues that this is key to their strategy.
Okay.
Put members in seemingly opposing positions to control the narrative and manage the conflict.
So it's like they're playing chess while the rest of us are stuck with checkers.
Exactly.
Okay.
He even points to William F. Buckley Jr.,
Mm-hmm.
the conservative icon,
Right.
and William Sloane Coffin Jr.,
Okay.
the anti-war activist,
Yeah.
as another example of this tactic.
So they were both Skull and Bones.
Both were Yale classmates,
Mm-hmm.
both tapped for Skull and Bones by the same group, which included George H.W. Bush.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yet they ended up on opposite sides of some of the biggest issues of their time.
So they were deliberately placed in opposition to each other.
If Sutton's right, it was all part of the plan.
Wow, that's pretty mind-blowing.
So, if they're obsessed with power, where does education fit into all of this?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, does education play a role in this grand scheme of theirs?
Sutton argues that they see education as a tool for social control.
Oh, wow.
They want to mold obedient citizens who won't rock the boat or question authority.
Okay.
He points to 3 key figures:
Who are they?
Daniel Coit Gilman, Timothy Dwight, and Andrew Dixon White,
Okay.
all bonesmen.
All right, and what did these guys do?
So these guys studied in Germany
Uh-huh.
when the philosopher Hegel was all the rage.
Right.
Sutton thinks they brought Hegel's ideas back to America
Uh-huh.
and used them to shape the education system.
And what were Hegel's big ideas?
The state comes first,
Okay.
individuals come second.
So it's all about molding citizens to serve the state.
It's all about molding citizens to serve the state, not the other way around.
Sounds like a recipe for a nation of sheeple.
And that's not all.
There's more.
Sutton also points to the look-say method of reading
Look say.
as an example of their influence.
Okay, remind me what look say is.
Look-say, that's where you just memorize words instead of learning phonics.
Oh, yeah.
And get this,
Uh.
it was originally developed to teach deaf-mute kids to read.
Okay, that makes sense in that context.
Makes sense in that context.
Yeah.
But why the hell would you use it for general education?
Yeah, why would you do that?
Sounds like a great way to create a population that can't think critically.
Yeah, I can see how that would be problematic.
So 2 of the guys who developed it, Thomas Hopkins Gallaudet,
Okay.
had grandsons who ended up in Skull and Bones.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Then comes Horace Mann,
Right.
big name in education reform,
Mm-hmm.
who Sutton claims was a bonesman puppet.
So they're using him to push their agenda.
Mann was obsessed with the Luxay method and helped implement it at Antioch College,
Oh, wow.
which was controlled by the Taft family.
So it's all connected again.
And from there, it spread like a virus.
That's pretty disturbing.
If Sutton's right, the impact of Skull and Bones on American education has been devastating.
Yeah, it sounds like they've really messed things up.
They've traded critical thinking for rote memorization
Right.
and individuality for blind obedience.
Though they're not content with just controlling politics and finance.
That's to control how we think, too.
Yeah, it's like they're playing 4D chess while the rest of us are struggling to figure out tic-tac-toe.
It's like they're playing 4D chess while the rest of us are struggling to figure out tic-tac-toe.
Yeah, it's a pretty apt analogy.
By shaping how we learn,
Yeah.
they shape how we see the world,
Yeah,
how we process information,
right.
and ultimately how we make decisions.
It's scary to think about how much influence they might have.
Okay, before we get too deep into the conspiracy weeds,
All right.
let's take a step back and look at some of the key players Sutton identifies
Yep.
as being part of this whole Skull and Bones operation.
Okay, so who are the major players?
We talked about the Tafts and the Bushes, but who else is on this roster of alleged masterminds?
Yeah, I'm curious to hear more about who Sutton thinks is pulling the strings. Well, there's Avril Harriman, who Sutton considers the Order's godfather, especially when it comes to their financial dealings.
Okay.
This guy was a power player in the Democratic Party, had deep ties to Wall Street,
Okay.
and get this, played a major role in financing the Soviet Union in its early years.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
The guy who's supposed to be a capitalist was bankrolling the commies?
It's a head scratcher.
That doesn't make any sense.
That's where things get really murky.
Okay.
Sutton argues that the whole capitalism versus communism thing is just a smokescreen for the Order.
Okay.
They'll happily support both sides of a conflict
Right.
if it gets them closer to their goal of global domination.
So they're basically playing both sides against the middle,
Exactly.
manipulating the entire game for their own benefit.
That's the idea.
That's some seriously messed up realpolitik.
Yeah?
Is there anything this group won't do?
You're about to find out.
No. No.
Sutton claims they were involved in financing both the Bolshevik Revolution and the rise of Hitler.
Hold on. Are you saying they funded both sides of World War II?
That's exactly what he's saying.
Right.
He believes they deliberately engineered the conflict to advance their own agenda.
Which was,
Oh, wow.
besides causing unimaginable death and destruction.
Yeah.
I mean,
He sees World War II as a major step towards their goal of a new world order,
Right.
with the UN serving as a prototype for a global governing body.
so they use war as a tool to achieve their political objectives.
That's the gist of it.
That's cold.
Sutton doesn't pull any punches,
Yeah.
and he argues that they didn't stop there.
Oh, no.
After World War II, they shifted their focus to creating a new conflict, the Cold War between the US and the Soviet Union.
And then when that started to wind down,
Yeah.
they pivoted to China.
Right.
Okay.
Sutton claims they started funneling military technology to both the Soviets and the Chinese,
Okay.
deliberately building them up as rivals to the US.
So they're like creating their own enemies
In a way,
to justify their own existence?
it's all about maintaining the balance of power,
Right.
or at least the illusion of it.
Okay.
He thinks it's all part of a plan
Mm-hmm.
to create a final global showdown
Uh-huh.
that will pave the way for their one world government.
This is starting to sound like a Bond villain's evil scheme.
Yeah, it's pretty out there,
Except this is supposedly happening in real life.
which is even scarier.
If we're just pawns in their game,
Yeah,
what hope do we even have?
that's the big question.
Is there anything we can do to stop them?
Sutton thinks so.
Okay.
He believes their biggest fear is exposure.
Okay.
He sees his research as a way to shine a light on their activities, alerting the public to the danger they pose.
He's like a modern-day Paul Revere.
In a way.
Except instead of warning about the British,
Yeah.
he's warning about a shadowy cabal of
He's
elites.
trying to wake people up.
And like Revere,
Yeah.
he's facing a lot of skepticism and pushback.
Oh, I'm sure.
But he's convinced that his work is crucial to stopping the Order from achieving its goal of global domination.
It's a big task.
So what does he think this New World Order will look like?
Not good.
Let's just say it's not a utopia.
He describes a world
Yeah.
where individual freedom is crushed.
Okay.
National sovereignty is a joke.
Okay.
and a small group of elites controls every aspect of our lives.
That sounds like a dystopian nightmare.
It's not a pretty picture.
And Sutton believes it's the logical endpoint of the Order's ideology.
He sees it as the culmination of their efforts.
He's not just talking about skull and bones.
Right.
He's talking about a much larger battle
Yeah.
between freedom and tyranny, individuality and collectivism,
The age-old struggle.
democracy and, well,
Yeah.
something far more sinister.
It's a battle for the soul of humanity.
So how do we fight back against something this big,
Right.
this powerful, this entrenched?
It's a daunting challenge.
Where do we even begin?
Sutton says we need to start by reclaiming control of our education system.
Okay.
Teach our kids to think for themselves, question everything,
Yeah.
and stand up for what they believe in.
So we need to raise a generation of critical thinkers,
Exactly.
not mindless consumers.
Kids who can see through the bullshit.
And we need to break free from the financial chains that bind us.
Absolutely.
Debt is a tool of control.
It keeps us trapped in the system.
We need to explore alternative currencies,
Uh-huh.
support local businesses,
Yeah.
and build economic systems that empower individuals.
Creating a more resilient and equitable society.
It's about taking back our power,
Mm.
both intellectually and financially.
Exactly.
Right? It's
Yeah.
about recognizing that
Uh-huh.
we have agency, that we can make choices,
We're not helpless.
and that we don't have to play by their rules.
We can create our own rules.
It's a lot to process,
It is.
but it's also incredibly empowering to think that we can actually make a difference.
That's the key.
That's the point.
We're not helpless.
We have the power to change things.
We do.
Okay, so we need to educate ourselves and our kids,
Mm-hmm.
break free from the debt trap,
Yeah.
and build alternative systems.
Build a better world.
But what about the political arena?
Right.
How do we challenge a system that seems rigged against us from the start?
That's the million-dollar question.
Sutton doesn't offer easy answers.
No, he doesn't.
He seems to think that real change has to come from outside the existing political structures.
I can see why he'd say that.
They're too corrupted, too compromised.
Yeah, the system is pretty messed up.
So we're talking grassroots movements,
Mm-hmm.
supporting independent candidates,
Okay.
building alternative media platforms.
Creating spaces where we can have real conversations.
Exactly. It's about creating something new,
Yes.
something that can't be co-opted by the existing power structure.
Building something from the ground up.
It's a daunting task,
It is.
but it's also exciting to think that we have the power to create a better world.
Yeah.
A world where freedom and individuality actually means
A
something.
world worth fighting for.
Yes, the spirit.
That's what Sutton wants.
Sutton wants to inspire people to wake up,
Yeah.
to question everything,
Mm-hmm.
and to fight for a future where humanity can flourish without being controlled by a bunch of self-appointed elites.
It's a powerful vision.
That's a message worth fighting for.
Absolutely.
So anything else about Sutton's warnings and solutions before we wrap up part 2?
Well, Sutton argues that we need to be especially wary of the Order's influence in Central America.
Central America.
He dedicates a good chunk of his work to examining their alleged role in various conflicts and political shakeups in the region.
Okay, so what's the connection there?
He even claims they've backed certain Marxist regimes while trying to take down others,
Really?
which seems to contradict their supposed anti-communist stance.
That doesn't make any sense.
He uses the examples of Angola and Grenada
Okay.
to illustrate this point.
Okay.
He argues that they were happy to support the Marxist regime in Angola,
Mm-hmm.
where Gulf Oil,
Right.
a company with close ties to the Order,
Okay.
had a lot invested.
So they're playing both sides of the ideological fence,
It seems that way.
using whatever means necessary to advance their agenda.
That's Sutton's argument.
So ideology doesn't really matter to them.
Not really.
It's all about power no matter what flag they're waving.
He believes they're willing to manipulate and exploit any situation, any ideology, any conflict
Wow.
to get what they want.
Okay.
They're not bound by conventional morality or political principles.
It's like they're playing a global game of risk,
Yeah.
moving their pieces around the board,
Mm-hmm.
sacrificing pawns for strategic advantage.
It's a chilling analogy.
Except the pawns are real people, and the stakes are incredibly high.
It's a terrifying thought.
But if we buy into Sutton's worldview,
Yeah.
we're not just helpless pawns.
Right.
We have the ability to think for ourselves,
Yes, we do.
to make our own choices,
And see.
and to resist their manipulations.
Exactly.
And the first step is recognizing that the game is rigged.
Absolutely.
Once we see the strings,
Yeah,
We can start to cut them.
we can break free.
That's a powerful image.
Sutton's work is full of powerful images and provocative ideas.
Yeah.
Even if you don't agree with everything he says,
Right.
he forces you to think differently, to question the official narratives, and
Yeah.
to see the world with new eyes.
He's like a one-man intellectual earthquake,
Shaking things up.
shaking up our assumptions
Yeah.
and making us question everything we thought we knew.
And sometimes a good shakeup is exactly what we need.
This has been a pretty intense deep dive.
It has.
What are some of the lingering questions that Sutton's work leaves you with?
That's a good question. What keeps you up at night?
Well, I keep coming back to the question of motivation.
Motivation.
Like, what really drives these people?
Right.
Is it pure lust for power?
Yeah.
Or is there something more to it?
Okay.
What beliefs or values lead them to pursue this seemingly crazy and destructive goal of world domination?
And maybe even more importantly, how do we counter their influence
Yeah,
without resorting to their own tactics of secrecy and manipulation?
that's the challenge.
How do we fight a shadow war without becoming shadows ourselves?
It's a tough question.
Those are questions that deserve a deep dive of their own.
Definitely.
But for now, I think it's time to move on to part 3,
Okay.
where we'll explore some of the broader implications of Sutton's claims
Right.
and try to figure out what they mean for us moving forward.
Sounds good.
So let's be real, Sutton's work is controversial,
Oh, yeah.
to say the least.
Definitely raises some eyebrows.
Some people might even call him a crackpot.
Yeah.
But even if you don't buy into his whole theory,
It makes you think about power in a different way.
right, like it challenges your assumptions.
It's like, how much control do these unseen forces
Yeah,
really have over our lives?
it's a question worth asking.
Sutton's research definitely challenges the official narratives.
Oh, absolutely.
He connects events and individuals in a way that makes you question whether history really unfolds the way we're told it does.
Yeah, it's like he's connecting the dots.
It's like he's saying, hey, wake up.
Yeah,
There's a whole other game going on behind the scenes,
right.
and you're not invited.
You're not in the club.
He's not saying everything is a conspiracy,
Right.
but he's urging us to be more skeptical,
Yeah.
to look for the hidden agendas and the power plays that shape our world.
To think critically.
So how do we even know who to trust?
That's the tough part.
If these chains of influence are everywhere,
Yeah.
how can we tell who's pulling the strings?
It's not always easy to see.
That's the tough part. Sutton doesn't give us a clear-cut answer. He basically says, we need to sharpen our critical thinking skills,
Okay.
learn to spot patterns and connections,
Yeah.
and be wary of anyone who claims to have all the answers.
So don't just take things at face value.
So it's about becoming more discerning, doing our own research and
Yeah.
thinking for ourselves.
Right.
Don't just swallow the blue pill, right?
Stay woke.
He believes that an informed and engaged citizenry is the best defense against manipulation.
Yeah, knowledge is power.
And he emphasizes individual action,
Okay.
even small acts of resistance, like supporting local businesses
Right.
or opting out of the mainstream media,
Yeah.
can have a ripple effect.
So it's not about waiting for some hero to save us.
It's about taking responsibility for our own lives and building the kind of world we want to live in.
Creating the future we want to see.
He believes the power to change things lies within each of us.
It's an empowering message.
This whole conversation has really highlighted the importance of education for me.
Oh yeah, education is key.
Sutton sees education as both a weapon and a shield.
Interesting.
He thinks the current system is designed to churn out obedient, uncritical citizens.
Yeah, it's more about indoctrination than education.
But he also believes that true education, the kind that encourages critical thinking and a love of learning,
Right.
can be a powerful tool for liberation.
It can set you free.
So we need to reclaim education.
Yeah.
Make it about empowering individuals, not indoctrinating them.
We need to rethink the whole system.
Exactly. We need to create alternative models that foster creativity, curiosity, and critical thinking.
Yeah, build something better.
And we need to embrace self-education,
Right.
reading widely, and having open discussions with each other.
Sharing knowledge and ideas.
We need to become our own teachers, mentors, and guides
Yeah.
on this journey of awakening.
Beautifully put.
You know, Sutton seemed particularly concerned about the Order's involvement in Central America.
Yeah, he talks a lot about that.
Why do you think that was?
Well, he saw Central America as a testing ground for their tactics.
Okay.
A place where they could experiment with different strategies for manipulating governments and controlling resources.
Interesting.
He claims they backed certain Marxist regimes while undermining others,
Right.
even though they were supposed to be staunchly anti-communist.
So ideology doesn't really matter to them.
Not really.
It's all about power no matter what flag they're waving.
That's what Sutton suggests.
He uses the examples of Angola and Grenada to make this point.
Right.
They were happy to support the Marxist regime in Angola, where Gulf Oil, a company with deep ties to the order,
Yeah.
had major interests.
Right.
But then they orchestrated the invasion of Grenada, where a different kind of Marxist government posed a threat to their agenda.
So they're playing both sides.
It's like they're playing a global game of risk,
Yeah.
sacrificing pawns to gain strategic advantage.
A very high-stakes game.
Except the pawns are real people,
Right.
and the stakes are incredibly high.
It's a terrifying thought.
That's a disturbing but apt analogy.
Yeah.
Sutton is basically saying that they see themselves as the masters of the game, and the rest of us are just expendable pieces.
Just cogs in the machine.
But if we believe Sutton, we're not just helpless pieces.
Right.
We have the ability to think for ourselves,
We do.
to make our own choices,
Agency?
and to fight back against their manipulations.
Exactly.
And the first step is recognizing that the game is rigged.
Absolutely.
Once we see the strings, we can start to cut them.
We can break free.
So what's the takeaway here? What's the most important message Sutton is trying to convey?
I think it's this. Don't be afraid to question authority. Don't be afraid to think for yourself. Don't be afraid to challenge the status quo.
Right.
The world is far more complex than we're often led to believe.
Yeah.
There are hidden agendas, secret alliances, and power structures operating behind the scenes.
It can be overwhelming.
It can be. But by becoming aware of these forces,
Okay.
we can start to reclaim our agency and create a future that is truly free and just.
It's a powerful message, and one that we all need to hear, especially in these crazy times.
Yeah, we need to be vigilant.
Well, this has been an incredibly thought-provoking deep dive.
It has.
Sutton's work may be controversial,
Yeah, it definitely pushes the boundaries.
but it forces us to confront some uncomfortable truths about power, secrecy, and the forces that shape our world.
It makes you question everything.
He's like a one-man intellectual wrecking crew,
Yeah.
tearing down the facade and exposing the machinery underneath.
He doesn't hold back.
Whether you agree with him or not,
Right.
you can't deny that he makes you think.
He definitely gets the wheels turning.
And that's what the deep dive is all about.
Yeah.
Challenging assumptions, exploring different perspectives,
Right.
and encouraging you to think critically about the world around you.
It's about expanding your horizons.
We're not here to give you easy answers
Yo.
or tell you what to believe.
We want you to think for yourself.
We're here to spark your curiosity,
Yeah.
ignite your imagination, and empower you to become an active participant in shaping the future.
It's about taking control of your own destiny.
So keep questioning,
Keep learning.
keep exploring,
Keep digging.
and keep diving deep.
He'll keep diving with you.
We'll be back soon with another mind-bending journey into the unknown.
Until then, stay curious.
And stay woke.